What's going on, people? Welcome back to the YouTube channel and another episode of Displaying Classic. We are now sitting at just 16 days out from the first show of the season. I cannot believe how quick this prep has gone and the fact that we are now this close. In the last video, I updated you in that I was ill. I feel like we managed the illness so well over the past kind of 3 to 4 days, and luckily no symptoms progressed below the neck, and we continued on with fat loss while pulling back on expenditure and lipolytics. We've seen successive new prep lows to bring us into this morning's weighing of 94.5 kilos or 208.2 pounds. So we have decided to pull our foot off the gas as we normally do on my Thursday leg day by running a high day today with steps purely for digestion. And then we will also run another successive high day for tomorrow's push, which I'm very excited for. In the past few days where we have been digging for this new level of condition, we have seen lots of new detail come through, but definitely some areas starting to flatten off, especially the legs. So really important here that we are super strategic with how we push and how we pull to get the final kilo or two off. I really don't feel like there is too much more to go here. So we just got to be careful in how we do it so we can maintain the qualities that my physique possesses. Don't get blindsided by condition and forget everything else. It's about a total package here. I'm really getting excited about, and that is how I plan on building the perfect physique. So as you would have seen by the title of today's video, I want to talk about something. It's something that I've been thinking about and spending a lot of time researching over this prep, and something that's really important to me and something that really excites me. And that is, how do I plan on building the perfect physique? How do I plan on extracting every bit of potential out of my physique to reach its true capacity? We're going to talk through that in today's video, because on prep you have a lot of time to listen to podcasts, to do research, a lot of time with your own thoughts, and it's just really excited me trying to plan the next 8 to 10 years out and how I get my physique from where it is now to its max capacity. And I feel like it's going to be a really good opportunity for me to deliver some value with what I have learned up until this point and how I see the next 8 to 10 years unfolding and what I need to do to get there. My goal as an athlete isn't necessarily primarily getting to the top level of the sport. My main goal as an athlete is to max the capacity of my physique out. Create the perfect physique with the tools that I have available from God's gift, what I've been given genetically. And hopefully as a byproduct, that will have me at the top level of the sport and being extremely successful. But I've got to make sure I get there. We're going to talk about that. But I'm also going to take you along the next 2 days of luxurious food, a big leg day today, and a push day tomorrow with a revived physique with much more food in me. So I'm going to take you along the next 2 days, and there'll be an opportunity where I sit down and talk all of that through in detail, because it's something that really excites me. But now we've got to head off for a massage to see Sam. It's something that I've been doing consistently throughout the whole of prep, and he has got my body in such a good position. So I'm going to grab my big bowls of cream of rice ready to go, and we're going to head and go and see him before we train legs today.
Shorten that muscle there, so come down to your hip, press the shoulder and reach, and then roll your head away. That's perfect. Good. So muscle energy technique. I'm going to hold here for 20, and then I want you to contract the muscle that we're trying to stretch. So just pull the elbow down, 10% effort. Perfect. Continue pulling, take a long deep breath in. Large exhale. Now relax. Left leg goes really long, stretch it out. Typically the last one
it's at the back for me, like where the erectors are, just above the spine erectors, the lower lats, that's what I go for. That last little bit of grabbage.
Yeah.
Another 6-7 days of trying to chip away a little more.
Yeah.
Freshen up for the first show and then
see where you're at.
See where we're at and get some data, and then probably have an opportunity just to pull down that tiny bit more.
Yeah.
And then it will just be a nice slow reverse for all of the most important shows.
Pretty brutal there.
Because that's nice, it's reassuring me. When it does play havoc again, we just look back on data and go, right, this is what we did.
And actually my ability to get the weight evenly distributed through both legs has been pretty damn good the past few sessions as well. So.
Yeah.
So that is tissue work wrapped up with Sam, and likely the last massage before the first show of the season. And he has got my body in such a good spot. It is so nice going into those sessions with no glaring issues that we need to address, and it's purely maintenance work. So it's just ensuring no areas are building up with scar tissue from injections, also tightness from training and posing, because posing can make such a dramatic difference to how your physique looks, and it is one of the most important parts of this sport. So being able to open up correctly, pose correctly through having no scar tissue built up, working through some of those areas and flushing everything through is so valuable. Calves were pretty brutal today. Same with forearms as well. So glad to run through some of those. So it is now time for legs. I've been counting down the days to this session now that we've only got one leg day a week. So I'm super excited to get in there and get after it. This is likely to be the second to last session before the first show of the season, which is crazy to say. So pre-workout going in, we have Crank Pump Pro as always. I'm going to sip this now, drive to the gym, which is only 10-15 minutes away, walk on the treadmill for 5 to 10 minutes to visualize the session, get my head in the game, wake the body up a little bit after that massage, and then get stuck into the session. I'm not going to film the whole thing. I'll just film a few of the hard sets today and meet you after the session.
And again. Need this. Leg up. You. Oh, come on. Into that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh.
Lovely, Aaron. 2, fly. Stay tight. 3. Big brace. Up. C2 then. Yep. And again. Everything, Aaron. Up.
That was a risky last one. We took it there.
Not anymore. You. And again.
Other side, Jack. Sorry.
Come on. Up. And again. Come on. Let's see it then. 2 weeks now.
Yeah.
Up.
So that is the penultimate leg day done before the first show of the season. And I'm going to struggle to string together a productive sentence here. But legs should not be going that well at 2 weeks out. Not even from a progression point of view or a load point of view, but from a stimulus point of view, from a feeling. And it's ever since Dan introduced some new cues to my leg training to extract even more stimulus out of every single exercise. And you won't necessarily see that from some of the clips that I've just put prior to this. And it takes so much cognitive energy from you to extract that stimulus with those cues. There's one thing training hard, right? And I think training intensity isn't just going to failure. It's composure when you get close to failure. It's being extremely disciplined in your cues, your intentions, your control, your tempo in close proximity to failure when it is excruciating. And it takes so much cognitive energy to get that stimulus out with those cues. It takes everything from you, especially when cognitive energy is limited at this point in the session. But my God, coming out of a leg session feeling like this just excites me for the off season and what I'm going to be able to do to my legs with this new training approach. But it's super important to be present and not always wish to be in the next phase, because it's very easy to do that in prep and think, oh, I can't wait to get back to growing. And then when you're in an off season, you can't wait to be prepping. So I'm just going to enjoy these sessions for what they are right now, the stimulus it's given me. I'm going to get a post-workout meal in. I don't know if I have the cognitive abilities to talk through what I wanted to talk through. So I'm probably going to roll this video onto tomorrow, another high day. We'll see what the visuals are looking like in the morning, and then we'll talk through the main topic of this video. Over and out. I need a big sleep tonight, and we will see where we're at tomorrow. Okay, people, Pepsi Max cream soda in hand. It is the day following. We woke up this morning at only 0.6 pounds up on the scales, but the visuals were so much fresher as a result. In particular, in the legs, life was pumped back into them, which is exactly what we needed to see. And we're still going to run a successive high day today with steps purely for digestion, no cardio, lipolytics removed, so we can continue to gain more data ready for peak week. So after today, we'll be back to business and digging for that final bit of condition. But now on to the main talking point of this video. How do I plan on building the perfect physique? Now, I'm never going to look like anybody else. There will be many physiques that I idolize within the sport, but I'm never going to look like them. I have a set given genetic structure from my parents that I cannot change. But how do I plan on reaching my physique's max capacity and creating the perfect physique out of what I have been given? I think it's really important to idolize different physiques because there is traits that they possess that I want to replicate within my physique. And I think it's really important to establish what I think the perfect physique for me looks like before I talk about how I'm going to do it. So there is definitely a select few physiques within the classic physique industry and maybe in the open bodybuilding division as well from previous years that I want to try and replicate within my physique. To name a few, Logan Franklin being number one. Why Logan Franklin? He has a polish to his physique that I have not seen by anybody else. The level of condition that he brings is absolutely obscene. But most importantly, it's the quality of the physique. It's the skin texture. It's the overall package that he brings is so professional. It almost looks like it has been carved out of stone. It almost looks like AI. It's the quality of the skin, the condition that he brings, the way he displays his physique with his effortless posing that's almost in slow motion. He is an athlete that I massively look up to and possesses many traits that I want to replicate. And some of the points that I talk about later in this video is definitely echoed and practiced by him on how he created his physique and the way that he has. It just has that quality. That's the best way I can describe it. Another physique that I massively look up to is obviously Rough Diesel, Terence Ruffin. And the qualities that he possesses is just pure balance and symmetry. If you look at his physique, there is no huge weak points. It flows from body part to body part so effortlessly. He has so much balance and symmetry, not only from top to bottom, but from left to right in every single pose that he hits. And I was so fortunate to see that up close in person a few meters in front of me, which really put it into perspective that it isn't all about size, because he wasn't structurally a big person, but he was so well put together, so well balanced. It creates so many lines and flows to his physique that you don't see in many athletes at all. And he also had that dry conditioning, that shrink wrap look, because he was only just a week or two post show. And it was very, very good to see that. And I think both him and Logan have such fresh looking physiques because it's taken time. And this is another reason why I love top level natural pro bodybuilding, because the condition they bring, the density, the detail is insane. And there's traits of top level natural bodybuilders that I want to still possess as an assisted athlete. And that means I need to take this approach over the next kind of 5 to 10 years in a very specific way. Fucking doorbell. So I've written down a few points here that I'm gonna need to follow in order to achieve my dream physique. And the first one is arguably the most important, and that is patience and time. In this day and age, everybody wants something at the click of their fingers quickly. And I feel like an athlete in this sport can get very carried away with doing whatever it takes to rise to the top as quickly as possible. You will see lots of athletes on the Olympia stage at a very young age. You will see people rise to success very quickly, and it may encourage them and other athletes to push too hard too quick. And in my opinion, those that grow so quickly look very different than the athletes that have taken much longer to slowly build their physique. And this goes for rate of gain in an off season. This goes for drug load exposure and how quickly people push PEDs in this sport. And I genuinely feel like it creates a completely different look. And I was having this conversation in the gym with a few people the other day about ERS transitioning from classic to open, and just open bodybuilding in general. They're huge, but a lot of them lack so much detail. And I feel like it's because a slightly different form of hypertrophy occurs. There's two different forms of hypertrophy. There's sarcoplasmic hypertrophy, where the sarcomere, the muscle cell, kind of swells. And then you've got myofibular hypertrophy, which is more like building dense tissue, fibrous tissue that creates that detail, that granite density that some athletes possess. And I feel like there is some genetic components here, what muscle fibers you're made up of, more the type 2 fast twitch or the type 1. But you look at some of the natural bodybuilders at the top of their game, there's a reason they have so much detail. They're granite. That muscle has been built slowly over a very prolonged period of time. It has not been forced on the physique in a very quick manner, full of lots of space within the cell, muscle swelling. So I think it's really important to me that I don't get caught away with, you need to turn pro within this year, you then need to make your first pro debut as good as possible, and not focus on that and focus more on the quality of my physique and building it slowly. Because this kind of brings on to my next point. I have a weight cap to fill. It isn't about just getting to the top of the weight cap. I have so much room within my weight cap. I'm gonna have like 6 or 7 kilos in my amateur weight cap, let alone my pro weight cap. But it's so important to be strategic in the way that you build that muscle, where it goes, because the next point is that I need that perfect symmetry and balance. So I have to be very specific with my training to bring up my weaknesses from my left to my right leg, from upper to lower. So I need to be very strategic in the way that I gain muscle and then make sure that it is quality muscle gain and in the right areas. You can't just grow at all costs. You need to be very strategic with volume distribution, with execution on training, with your drug load, with how quickly you progress these things like food and everything like that. I'm not in a rush. I feel so patient. I enjoy this process so much. I don't need to rush it to get anywhere. So that is one of the most important things that I need to possess. And I genuinely feel like in order to create that perfect look, it's going to take another 8 to 9 years from here. I feel like it's going to take me until I'm 33 to 36 to achieve that perfect physique. And I'm fine with that. I'm not rushing to get there. And the results and the success should come as a result of that patience. I'm not in a rush here. So that's a really, really important point. So another thing then that kind of ties in with that as well is that the detail is so important to me. I want detail from head to toe. I want feathering in all of my muscle groups. I want striations everywhere. I want that shrink-wrapped look, but then also the total package. I don't want any scar tissue. I want really good skin quality. I don't want stretch marks, so that also leads into not growing too quickly. I want to have all of my hair still. I want that quality. I want that polished look. So this comes down to things like pinning frequency, where you pin, also drug load as well, also not growing too quickly so you stretch your skin or you're extremely unhealthy. I feel like keeping overall systemic stress, oxidative stress, inflammation as low as possible, keeping on top of hygiene, keeping on top of all of your health products, making sure you eat the most nutritious diet possible that's going to lead to not only better skin quality and functioning of the body, but I've always said a healthier body is a more responsive body that is going to grow better. So ensuring that I stay on top of my health. And I think a really big thing that Logan touched on when it comes to nutrition, and something that I'm huge on anyway, is eating single ingredient foods. Completely eliminating anything that is processed that's going to cause that low level inflammation and oxidative stress, because I'm already putting my body under that with the PEDs that we take. So adding on top stress in life, adding on top stress from food, processed foods, and poor nutritional choices can definitely add up. So that's another huge consideration. And this even goes down to the small bits here. I'm a huge foodie. I love my food. So I want my food to taste as good as possible, but something that I definitely want to consider as I get further into my physique journey is being really aware of things like seasonings I'm using, condiments I'm using, and really try and strip it back to the basics as much as I can. 99% of my diet is single ingredient foods, but I definitely allow artificial sweeteners to creep in quite a lot, which accumulate over time, build up systemic and oxidative stress and low level inflammation within the gut and within the body. And as I get more disposable income, I want to be eating organic meats. I want to be getting the freshest produce possible, because I feel like these are all of the small percentages that can add up and create that quality in the physique, and a physique that's way more responsive. Staying away from PEDs that serve me no purpose and cause lots of oxidative stress. Staying away from orals that can damage the gut lining. All of these types of things. It is so important to me. Then it's going to be other little things like staying on top of tissue work, which will help flush out that scar tissue and ensure that I'm safe and staying injury free, because an injury can put an end to this possibility of creating my dream physique. So that's really important as well. Things like, it's all the small percents, right? So vacuum work, I mentioned I want to keep my waist as small as possible. So I really want to continue practicing high volumes of vacuum work throughout the entire off season, not just in prep. To keep the TVA super tight, keep the waist super small. Never get to a point where we're pushing really high volumes of food, which can cause that slight distension that you don't even realize throughout the off season. I think that is really, really important. And then when it comes to training, ensuring that we don't just grow everywhere, because I don't want to grow my midsection out. I've been such a huge advocate of big hip hinges and big movements. And this will kind of bring me on to my final point, which I think is really important, is how do I approach my training to create this look? And training should change over time. You need to look at training in chapters. And I think for the first 6 to 10 years of your training, you should be heavily focusing and prioritizing progressive overload, getting strong as you can on big movements. This builds the foundation. This builds skill, awareness within your body, how to move, how to brace correctly. So many fundamentals which you'll carry over into the future years of your training. And I think I've done a large majority of that to build the base that I have. And there's definitely still some big movements that are required to continue developing my physique more, but I think I need to be more strategic in the way that I go about them so I don't end up growing my waist or putting myself at a really high risk of injury. So that's definitely another consideration. And I feel like I'm transitioning into a new phase within my career where training has to change slightly. And I'm focusing way more on progressive overstimulus here, creating and extracting so much stimulus out of every single rep that I do, which requires less load, okay? And I also feel like this creates detail within the physique. I've always said to myself, I've never had cross striations in my quads. I've never had them. And I just thought I genetically didn't have them. And over the past few weeks, obviously as I've got leaner and I have built more tissue over the off season, but I've also been training very differently where the tension and the stimulus I'm creating in every leg exercise is through the roof. And then when I get round to posing, I'm all of a sudden bringing out cross striations in my legs. So I feel like you can create detail through training, through extremely accurate training in close proximity to failure, where you're not relying and calling upon different muscle groups just as you get closer to failure. So I feel like my training is going to change over the coming years, and I'm not going to be so hell-bent on just getting as strong as possible. You need to get stronger over time, but I'm more concerned now with causing as much stress to that target tissue as possible. I think the contractions are super important, just as important as those length and ranges, the control in those length and ranges, and just ensure that I am moving with the target tissue for the entire set. So just taking execution up to another level, now starting to cue things that I was never cueing before, and I'm very excited to get into that. So that is kind of my rough thoughts. That was kind of just a bit off the dome on how I feel like I'm gonna create my ultimate physique, and this may change as my opinions change over time, but these are just some of the considerations, and it seriously excites me for the off season, keeping on top of posing and things like that as well. Right, I feel like I'm spitballing and just throwing out loads of different things, but I hope there was some value in that on how I plan on approaching the next 8 to 10 years within my career to create that perfect look, which I hope will land me on the Olympia stage in those first call outs at some point within the future. But as I said, I'm not in a rush. I'm just going to focus on doing these things, growing slowly but strategically, with patience, with quality, and just keep building this physique to something truly special. And once my career is said and done, I can look back and be so proud of what I've created wherever that places me or whatever I achieve with that physique. So without further ado, it is time to go and train push on this successive high day, which I'm super excited for. So we will wrap the video up with some post-workout shots, maybe a set or two from the session, and round up the video here now that we're sitting at 15 days out from the first show of the season. Holy shit.
Oh, come on. Right. Let get this going. Right. That's two. Come on. Ride it.
So we are back from a relatively successful push session. A few regressions still, despite the extra food behind me. I think it's just inevitable at this point in prep. I was another kilo down in comparison to when I last hit that session, but the pump was sensational. I had to wait a little longer than anticipated for a lot of kit. So by the time I got upstairs post-workout, the pump had diminished a little. So I didn't really take many videos. I just got my rounds done. So I'm more excited to see the visuals first thing in the morning after 2 successive high days before we get back to the final dig before peak week. I am sat here eating a very unconventional meal that not everybody would agree with, but we have some air-fried bananas on top of beef and rice. But the reason I picked up the camera is because I'm watching a podcast with Patrick Tor, one of, if not the most intelligent coaching minds within the industry. He's Keon's coach, he's Logan Franklin's coach, and this podcast here with Fuad, which has just been released, echoes a lot of the points that I was talking about in today's video in how I'm going to build my perfect physique, which is super interesting. So definitely a podcast that you want to get on and watch because there is so much value in here. Anyways, I'm going to enjoy my final meals of the day and catch you guys in the morning with the morning visuals.